at TDK Ventures, at the end of every week, the team reflects on what they've learned from the week, and they write a weekly update, and they share it to everyone. I'm going to do the same here, which is I'm going to ask you to think about your top key takeaway. And I'm going to pick on whoever wants to speak so that we can go through the full day. What are the top reflections? What it is that we've learned? And if you don't have reflections, the team prepared some golden nuggets, so it's not empty. But I know that some of you came to me and say, wow, I just learned this, it was amazing, I didn't know about this. So I want to take advantage of the collective to think about what are your top key takeaways from today. I like Michael is going through all the list.
Yeah, the whole list. Yeah, so hi, my name is Cam Dales, one of the co-founders of Peak Energy. We're a ESS company focused on sodium-ion battery technology. Kind of more of a scale-up than a startup, really working from the market side down to a technology that we think is ready to go, and got some big partners in China that are starting to scale with us. I have to say, I was quite happy to hear the comments from Emmanuel about the different ways that companies may end up scaling that don't necessarily include an IPO, and I thought the conversation in the last panel was quite interesting, different perspectives on that. I've been fortunate enough to go through a traditional IPO process and then take a company public with a SPAC. By the way, 20% over our offering price, just saying, and that was a battery company. But it was a very different experience than I expected being a public company officer this time around. And I came from a perspective that, like, I think companies should be public. I think the operational discipline that it brings to the company is really healthy when you get to a certain scale. I think public market investors are incredibly smart, maybe just because there's so many of them. The top 1% of them are the smartest investors I've met. No offense to the private guys here. The experience of being in that public company, I ended up spending most of my time with lawyers and accountants, and ultimately left the company because, like, that's not what I signed up to do. I wanted to go build companies, and I could have stayed there to get it to the kind of the next level of scale, but like it just wasn't as fun as building again. So to hear that there's an option for companies like ours that might not be an IPO, might be part of an infra fund, that was something new for me. I hadn't really grokked that.
Thank you, Cam. All right, who's next? Tim.
It was actually during our presentation that actually the enemy is the do-nothing approach.
That was mine now. Oh my gosh.
It was scripted, all scripted. No, it was. It's a good insight. So I think all the presentations here prove that we are working on the right thing. We are standing behind one common journey. I think we are on a right trajectory, and now we need to get some power behind it and disrupt all the things that are open.
Very nice. All right. I'm trying to, yes. You're really challenging me from the right to the left to the right. Please, one in the center next, okay?
So I was completely surprised by the first speaker of the day. You know, you're talking about somebody who's highly accomplished in sports and in all kinds of other stressful activities, and then in venture. And I really was surprised at how motivating his talk was. So I really appreciate bringing that perspective here. And it was really interesting to hear somebody say, this is a silver medalist, like almost a world record holder, et cetera, et cetera. I fail every single day. And I thought about that and I was like, wow, I thought I was the only one that felt that way. Like, so it was really super empowering to hear somebody just talk about what kind of persistence is needed to make it through your own thoughts. And that was a nugget I won't forget. So thank you for that.
And it was the first, I mean, it was so perfect to be the first panel. Yeah. Thank you. Javier.
You guys have taken 3 of my nuggets already. But there's one more, maybe because I'm doing that, I'm focusing on partnerships. And partnerships was stressed during the almost every other talk today. And that was very inspiring to see that, partnerships are actually when you're sharing, when you're teaming up with people, is when big things happen. And I do believe in partnerships, and we're doing this at Divi Road, and we love it. I love to hear that. The other ones as well. They're failing every day. Who has not failed every day? Can you raise your hand? Thank you.
I'm waiting for Michael to raise his hand. Oh, that's what I thought. Okay. And then we'll be going to Arun.
The first, Mr. Larson, with his failing a lot, but also his statement, rules are enemies of returns, is a good reminder. But I think what surprised me the most is I thought for a long time that green transformation is a top-down topic. But I realized today that's very much a bottom-up. And bottom means it's so many people. It's such a strong movement. It's irreversible. I think at the end we had the statement about politics. We certainly have those discussions wherever we look. But the fact is there is such a strong movement from people who are willing to dedicate their intelligence and their lives for making things better. Plus companies and individuals willing to spend the money and their beliefs in long-term beliefs. I think that's for me the conclusion of the day here today. And basically the message is we are not alone, and that's the good thing.
Thank you. Arun?
The first panel, the sheer humility and thing, straight to the point, a no bullshit approach it was a great start to the entire panel. I was heavily jet lagged, but it just woke me up. Second thing, I was very impressed by the governor of Boston. I think if that's representative of why things happen here, wish we could have 1/10 of that with all politicians, but I think that was very impressive for me. Panel I resonated most was with the folk, and probably because we at Exponent are also in the same valley. We're exactly in that valley. And you always think, because we sell retail and we also sell to a market that's very credit starved already. So you always think, oh, we're just unlucky because we're retail and we're selling to that market. But it's sort of, well, I guess empowering in some way to know that it's a problem everywhere in the world, no matter who you're selling to, large enterprise, small retail customer, this is still a common problem, which means I think it just gives you more energy to want to go marry the problem and own it and just go solve for it.
It was a great session, yeah. Over there?
My takeaway was on speed. As you're thinking about, as an investor or a commercial partner, how can you really differentiate and be a good startup partner? Time is really money for venture-backed startups. And I think in the folk panel, we were talking about how can you get this financing stack done the quickest. And so that made me reflect as an investor, what can I do to push that forward? And then the second thing was that panel also got me thinking about forward market commitments outside of sustainable aviation fuel. Like we talked about SAF and then specific conditions around green steel that made the offtake commitment possible, and someone else was taking down the green premium. So what are the mechanisms for government entities or family offices, et cetera, to extend that into other industries to try and accelerate that kind of folk financing?
Oh, very nice. David?
One interesting thing that surprised me, but I think it makes sense, is Emmanuel's comment about what is required to attract infrastructure capital. And one of the things he said that surprised me was you need to be capital intensive. And initially that was counterintuitive to me because as an investor, capital intensity is also a risk. But of course, if you achieve positive unit economics and the risk is, palatable from a technology perspective, it's interesting to also think of the fact that capital intensity is a good thing. That was a definite learning for me.
Yep.
So similarly, you kind of took one of my findings, which was Megan Sharp's fireside chat, and she mentioned turning trash to treasure, and I think that relates back to one of the themes, which is a lot of the technology is also there, and it's kind of what we can do collectively. And she mentioned, setting up volumes and long-term offtakes and engaging corporates, so committing to technology that has been proven and scaling that up, as well as, I don't come from the investor world, so I also learned that she had mentioned, in VC 2 to 3 winners, and it seems fairly low. So how do we enable different companies to kind of continue on with that path of being maybe so-called winners?
Very nice. Ashima-san.
My takeaway is challenge and opportunity. So climate tech or carbon neutrality. But on the other hand, I once again recognize this is great opportunity to bring new technology and also to support the portfolio companies. So once again, this challenge and opportunity, I recognize.
I think that was Governor Haley on her first day in office. She said, climate crisis is an unparalleled opportunity. And I think this challenge, this is why we are here today. And maybe this is the final remark, which is, I'm hoping that we continue beyond 100X event and we think about how we can help each other, we can be ingenious. I think the creativity is where we can really shine. And we have to think about constraint. And I think the trash to treasure is one example of being creative about creating value from trash, but actually you upcycle it and you create circularity, and you get to this green transformation we talked at the beginning of today, the GX. I think we are all committed to make the better world, to go towards green, to go towards better technology for society. That, I think, is very special. So we are a very special group. I'm really happy we made it into an invite only, because that means that all the conversations, all the discussions we had, we're talking between special people. This is quite rare, and I think some of you already told me you recognize this, but we want this to be an annual event, and we want you to think about this as the safe place where we can be creative and think through what we can do next and bigger. Thank you.